Geopolitical manipulations in the Middle East, the case of Sisi, Jordan, and Turkey. The geopolitical landscape of the Middle East has long been shaped by external powers leveraging local leaders to serve broader strategic interests. A prime example of this manipulation is evident in the rise of Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, whose ascent to power mirrors the historical precedent set by the Shah of Iran. Installed through a military coup rather than a democratic process, Sisi's rule exemplifies how external interests, primarily those of the United States and Israel, dominate Egypt's political and economic spheres. Sisi's presidency is rooted in the military overthrow of the democratically elected President Mohamed Morsi in 2013. This coup was not an isolated event but part of a broader pattern of Western intervention in the Middle East and North Africa. Sisi's government has since been characterized by severe repression, economic mismanagement, and heavy reliance on foreign aid, particularly from the U.S. This support ensures Egypt remains a linchpin in U.S. strategic plans, primarily because of the Suez Canal's critical role in global trade and military logistics. The canal's significance cannot be overstated. It is a vital artery for the movement of goods and naval forces, making Egypt indispensable despite its internal bankruptcy and socio-economic turmoil. Historical parallels with the Shah of Iran are striking. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah, was also installed and supported by Western powers, primarily the CIA and MI6, following the 1953 coup that ousted Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh. The Shah's reign was marked by modernization efforts that favored Western interests and heavy-handed suppression of dissent. This culminated in the 1979 Iranian Revolution, forcing him into exile. Similarly, Sisi's reliance on military and economic support from the U.S. makes his regime vulnerable to the same fate, potentially ending in a forced escape if domestic pressures become untenable. This pattern of installing and supporting compliant leaders extends beyond Egypt. Jordan's King Hussein bin Talal, who ruled from 1952 until 1999, provides another case study. As a 40th-generation descendant of the Islamic prophet Muhammad and a member of the Hashemite dynasty, King Hussein was positioned as a stabilizing figure in a tumultuous region. However, his long reign was deeply influenced by CIA backing, which ensured Jordan's alignment with Western geopolitical interests. His son, King Abdullah II, continues this legacy, maintaining Jordan's critical role as a U.S. ally in the region. These leaders, Sisi, the Shah, and the Hashemite kings, share the common trait of being perceived as corrupt and subservient to foreign powers. Their governance often prioritizes the interests of their benefactors over their own populations, leading to widespread disenfranchisement and economic instability. The strategic importance of their countries, whether due to geographical location, like Egypt's Suez Canal, or political leverage, like Jordan's role in regional stability, renders these leaders crucial pawns in the grand chessboard of Middle Eastern politics. Turkey's trajectory offers a contrasting yet complementary narrative. Following the death of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk in 1938, Turkey's leadership increasingly aligned with Western interests. This alignment ensured Turkey remained a NATO member and a bulwark against Soviet expansion during the Cold War. However, Western influence also stifled Turkey's potential to explore and exploit its natural resources, thereby maintaining economic dependency. The contemporary era, marked by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's rule, illustrates a significant shift. Erdogan has distanced Turkey from unequivocal Western allegiance, recognizing that Turkey's future may lie more closely with Eastern powers, such as Russia and China, especially as he navigates the complex political landscape with 85 million citizens often at odds with Western policies. Erdogan's balancing act is particularly evident in his handling of the Palestinian conflict and relations with Israel. Turkey's history with Arab nations, marked by Ottoman imperialism and subsequent distrust, complicates its regional relationships. Despite occasional rapprochements, underlying tensions with countries like Iran persist, driven by historical enmity and competing regional ambitions. Erdogan's pragmatic approach involves engaging with multiple powers while avoiding actions that would firmly place Turkey back under Western dominion. The passive stance of Arab nations during the Gaza conflict. The passive stance of many Arab nations during the latest conflict in Gaza underscores their prioritization of maintaining favorable relations with the West over taking a strong stand on regional issues. This inaction is deeply rooted in their desire to protect national interests that are intricately tied to economic and military aid from Western powers, as well as the geopolitical stability provided by these alliances. During the recent escalation in Gaza, the response of Arab nations was largely characterized by diplomatic rhetoric and calls for ceasefires, without any substantial intervention. Countries such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt issued statements condemning the violence and calling for peace, but refrained from taking decisive actions that could disrupt their strategic relationships with the United States and its allies. This passive approach is influenced by several factors. Economic dependency. Many Arab states rely heavily on economic aid and investments from the West. For instance, Egypt receives significant military aid from the U.S., which underpins its defense capabilities and supports its economy. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, with their substantial oil revenues, have developed intricate economic ties with Western countries, including arms purchases and investments in various sectors. These relationships make it challenging for these countries to adopt policies that could jeopardize their economic stability. Security concerns. The security apparatus of many Arab countries is interlinked with Western military support. The strategic alliances with the U.S., in particular, provide these nations with advanced weaponry, intelligence sharing, and training, which are crucial for their national security. In exchange, these countries often align with U.S. geopolitical strategies, including a more subdued stance on conflicts involving Israel. Geopolitical strategy. Maintaining a passive stance during the Gaza conflict aligns with a broader strategy to avoid direct confrontation with Israel and the U.S. This approach helps these Arab states to focus on their internal stability and regional ambitions without getting entangled in the protracted Israeli-Palestinian conflict. By staying neutral, they aim to preserve their geopolitical standing and avoid exacerbating tensions that could destabilize the region. Historical context. Historically, the Arab world's approach to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has evolved. Initially marked by strong support for the Palestinian cause and direct military confrontations, the current strategy is more pragmatic and cautious. The normalization agreements between Israel and several Arab states, such as the UAE and Bahrain, under the Abraham Accords, reflect a significant shift towards diplomatic and economic cooperation with Israel, influenced by mutual interests and shared concerns about Iran. In conclusion, the passive stance of Arab nations during the latest Gaza conflict highlights a strategic choice to safeguard their national interests by aligning with Western powers. This approach, driven by economic dependencies, security concerns, and pragmatic geopolitics, underscores the complex dynamics of Middle Eastern politics, where external influences continue to shape the actions and policies of regional actors. The intricate balance of maintaining regional stability, economic growth, and favorable international relations dictates a cautious approach to conflicts, even at the cost of appearing indifferent to pressing humanitarian issues within the region.